turn finally and quickly to 1 Samuel chapter 30. If you remember 98 days ago, we were here, but you probably don't. The man in question is David. He has just left the ranks of the Philistines. He's in the rear ranks along with Achish, who tells him the Philistines don't like having you and the Hebrews around. You need to go back. Philistines had granted them Ziklag where they could live. And so he and his men, having fought, weary from battle, dirty, sweaty, tired, have about a 3.5 day walk back to Ziklag. I don't know what their future will be. He's still hunted and haunted by Saul, the king. And so they come to what was their home. Must have been a rugged place. They've been living there about a year, year and a half. My figuring is correct. Verse 1. Don't you love the first 3 words? Then it happened. Then it happened. In other words, out of the blue, unexpectedly, the shock of what they were about to see was just over the hill. When David and his men came to Ziklag on the 3rd day, the Amalekites had made a raid on the Negev and on Ziklag and had overthrown Ziklag and burned it with fire. That's bad enough, because that meant all of their homes were gone. Next verse. Then it happened, they realized that the Amalekites had taken captive the women and all who were in it, in the village, small and great, meaning the children, without killing anyone, and carried them off and went their way. They didn't know no one was killed. All they knew was the place was vacant. It was smoldering ruins. All of the tents were down, and it was, you could hear the wind whistle through the bushes. It must have been horrible. Verse 3, when David and his men came to the city, behold, it was burned with fire. Wives, sons, and daughters have been taken captive. Now, before you think David is living in denial, please observe his response. David and the people who were with him lifted up their voices and wept until there was no strength in them to weep. Never think that trusting God means you do not weep. Please learn not to say to people who have lost someone near and dear to them, let's not cry, we're trusting God. We don't weep as those who have no hope, but we weep. I can't experience loss without tears, especially if the loss hits me deeply. They lifted up their voices and they wept till there was no strength in them to weep anymore. Now David, his wives had been taken captive. Verse 6, David was greatly distressed. I hope I'm not going too far. I believe the Hebrew word would include the idea of depressed. The man slumps into a time of depression. I mean, he's lost his wife. He's lost his kids. They've lost theirs. And if that isn't bad enough, he was greatly distressed because the people spoke of stoning him. These are his own troops. This is his staff. If all the men were there, this is 600 of these warriors that he's trained since the cave of Adullam. These are his guys. And they spoke of stoning him, for all were embittered, each one because of his sons and daughters. Why didn't you think ahead, David? You're the commander in chief. Why would we leave them without protection? What were we thinking? You're the leader here. Well, you'll go through that too, by the way. That's all part of the job. It just isn't written in the job description. And there will be those who will turn on you when you have nothing to do with what has happened, but you're the scapegoat. You're the target. You live with a bullseye on your chest. And all of them looked at David and turned against him at that. There was mutiny, or almost. Then we read the best part of the story in the latter half of verse 6. But David strengthened himself in the Lord, his God. How good is that? How did he do it? You know how he did it. I know how he did it. It's just hard to do it. I lost my wife. Lost my kids. I'm losing their trust. Oh, God. Maybe he remembered a song he wrote, "The Lord is my light and my salvation, whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life, of whom shall I be afraid? Though a host encamp against me, I will not fear." Oh God, you have come through in the life of Moses. You came through in the life of Abraham. You came through in the life of Joseph and the brothers. You can come through now. And I refuse to run or panic. I trust you, oh God. That's one thing to say that, and I'll tell you, it's a whole different deal to do it. So did Job, as godly as he was. And yet Job said, in the midst of all of the loss, though he slay me, I will trust in him. Though he take me off this earth, in the process, I leave trusting him. I will trust him. We have cultivated the bad habit of worry. Many of you are much better at worrying than you are at trusting. If you were to put together a worry list, it would outrun your prayer list. And you're worried right now about something. Most likely, it's related to something about your schoolwork, some course, some class, some test, or maybe your finances. You don't have enough money. I'll give you a word of encouragement. You'll never have enough money. So you're worried now, you're getting good at it, so you can carry that with you when you graduate, because you won't have enough money then. So you're worried about that. And you do not trust God. See how practical it is? And if you think you're going to outgrow the problem, take it from this old guy today, you won't ever outgrow it. It's like lust. You never outgrow lust. You just learn to fake it. I remember attending a Navigator conference when Lawrence Sandy was president. We were at Glen Eyrie, and they had a returned missionary, I think an 87, 88-year-old gentleman who Lauren brought up to the platform, and he was a longtime navigator. And Lauren said, "Tell me, Dr. So-and-so, when did you conquer lust?" The old man said, "Well, Lauren, hasn't happened yet." You'll never conquer worry. It's part of the flesh. You want to, but the only way you will get through it so that you will learn from the test is to trust. To trust. To put the worry on hold, to set it aside, deliberately shoving it away, and saying, God, at this moment, I rest in you and you alone. If you're married, God, help my spouse and me to trust you, to lean on you, to wait on you, to listen to you, to endure the test with you.